You are live.
Hello, welcome to Groseal's Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. Call this meeting to order at 7:45 and ask everyone to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. We have Carl Blotcher, John Hennessy, Dan Jaster, Rebecca Kung, Christine Ridlicki, and myself, Brian Pollock, in attendance. Alan the Eloquent might be able to make it later on. If so, he'll join us. If not, he is excused because he was at work. He let us know ahead of time, but he said he was going to try and make it. Before you should have the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda as presented?
I don't.
Anyone else?
Yep.
Oh, great. Hearing none, we can go on with the agenda. Minutes. So, Dan, I believe you said that you put the minutes online.
Yes. Brian said he received them last month.
See, I assume no one has had a chance to review them.
Why don't we move it to next month?
Would that be safe to assume? What's that, Dan?
All right, why don't we just, everybody go online and look at them, and if there's any questions, we can review them next month.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. So we will move chunk ahead. I assume there's nobody in the public. Brian Friel, would you let us know if there's anybody else that needs to be admitted that wanted to do public comment?
Yeah, there's nobody else that needs to be admitted at this time.
Okay. Later on, there is somebody that is interested in working with us. I've been communicating with him via the Groseal Walks and Bikes Facebook page, and he's asked us about a bicycle safety training course, very similar to what we've been planning for a while. So he might join us. If not, I just let you know that he could be joining us at a future meeting. And hold on a second here, let's see if I can pull up. Well, I'll get you that name shortly. I can't pull it up at the moment. So move ahead. Bike path maintenance fund balance. I did talk to Anne last month or so, and she had said that yes, nothing has been pulled from the actual fund balance. That it has been any maintenance that was going on was being charged to another task and would be put into our ledger. The funding would be changed later on. So I need to double check with her on that to see if that's still the case and see if we can get it to a point where we more regularly see what funding is occurring rather than seeing a zero deduction balance. Same balance as at the beginning of the year with zero deductions throughout it. So I know that there has been maintenance going on, but just need to find out how much is being charged and what we should expect. Moving on to bike path maintenance items. I hope everyone's seen that there has been asphalt restoration going on the island. And so C. Rains has been the project manager on that project, working with Al's Asphalt in order to do all of the seal coating and crack sealing and band sealing. So anything that was in decent enough repair that it could benefit from those types of treatments, which basically keeps the pavement together and stops water from penetrating and stopping that freeze thaw cycle. It did get that. There was a few areas that were questionable in that regard, especially in the north end. We had some comments about north of Bridge Road, and I was talking with Brent over at CE Rains, and he mentioned that there's going to be either water main or sewer main work happening on that end of the island in the springtime. And so it'd benefit for us to just wait and see, because that section, one, it was kind of on the borderline between just some of this preventative maintenance aspect or minimal restoration benefits versus having to go through and take more extensive, intensive repairs by doing a mill and fill or overlays. So with that, we're going to see like how much of the bike path they're actually going to be breaking up in order to do some of the water main work. And based on that, hopefully there'll be economies of scale where we can get a better bike path installed. But if for some reason they don't, what their work is done is very minimal, we can just go through and do the same thing that we're doing this year on the paths on that section next year. So it's just more wait and see to make sure we're not throwing good money at bad, or having them rip up everything that we just did. Additionally, there should be some more intensive work happening between Church Road and Horse Mill, and so this is the area that gets a lot of use and has some extensive damage to it, where it would not benefit from the seal coat and the overlays, and so you'd have to do either partial depth or full depth repairs in those sections. And the thought behind it is that it's more than likely going to be full depth repairs, because the machinery, like once they bring it through there, they might mill down a portion of it and it might be good, but by the time they bring in the other equipment to actually throw more asphalt up on top of it, that it's probably going to crack that base. So we're still on a wait and see, but the assumption is that they will be full depth repair sections. So the idea for right now is to continue with asphalt maintenance, making sure that lighter, quicker, cheaper stuff, the overlays and the seal coating and the crack sealing, that all of that gets done on a routine basis, likely every 2 years or so, to keep those sections in good repair. And then as our budget allows, we'll do more of those full depth reconstructs in order to take care of some of the worst parts of the island. Is there any questions, comments, or experiences folks have had, seeing either the paths under construction or used them since they've been fully restored?
There was a couple of comments on Facebook that they wish the roads were as nice as the bike path.
Yeah, I've saw those on Roseville now as well, and that they're thanking us for the work that we're doing, and so
Yes.
As much as I like hearing those thanks, we need to thank the residents for passing that
For the millage
to allow us to do this. So happy to spend those funds to make sure that we're giving something of value back to people. And on the road side, hey, if we can figure out a way to pay for it, hopefully we can have smoother roads here in the future too. Other questions, comments, observations?
I have none.
Hearing none, to move on to bike path bridges. So there is no maintenance work on the bridges as of right now, but there will likely need to be a redecking of the bridge over the thoroughfare canal next year, I believe. Wes Pfeiffer of Pfeiffer Builders had talked about that in the past, so that might be something on our radar. Need to see like what the condition of that is, as well as depending on the situation and our new board coming in. You don't know if that would be something where we continue the way that we have been working, or if it's something that they want to see go out for bids. From what I've been told is when we go out for bids on certain things, that's going to increase the prices because of the administration, and might be people that don't know the bridges as well as other people that have worked on them for a while. But it's on a wait and see, and it might be an extensive expenditure in the next year or the year following. So moving on to non-bike path items, has anyone seen anything on sidewalks or shoulders and stuff that should be addressed?
Yep.
I say that I did reach out to Joseph Ryman, the principal over at Park Lane, I've been walking my daughter to school quite a bit, as well as, biking her to school. And so we utilized the sidewalks that went in as part of the Safe Routes to School project a few years ago. And, we're very grateful for them. It works out really well. But there was a section that, it could use a little bit of TLC. And so I let him know about that. And he said that that's going to be on the radar for upcoming capital improvements. So they will be able to address any cracks that are happening in the sidewalk to make sure, again, that they're doing the preventative maintenance so that way those sidewalks don't get ripped up. So very happy that Joe mentioned that, and glad to work with him. He's a great guy. Any other items relating to bike path maintenance? All right. Well, trudge ahead to bike path safety issues. Ferry and Meridian, I believe people have seen the lights that were put up, not lights per se, but flashers that are out there attached to the pedestrian crossing sign. So I want to thank the police department for putting those up. I recognize that it's not the same thing as a full signal. That's something that we would like to pursue. But again, that will require capital. And so we'll need to figure out how to address that moving forward. Signage modernization. I don't believe there's been much happening with this, Carl. I know that you and Nicole had worked on this in the past. It's kind of, with COVID and everything, it hasn't been on the top of everybody's radar, but it's something that you want to keep track of. Again, I'm putting all these items down here as more of prompts for us to talk about to see if there has been any progress. Say that there hasn't been. But, when I was talking with CE Rains about the whole kit and caboodle, talking about asphalt maintenance, talking about bridge maintenance, talking about safety issues, signage. We talked about coming up with a more comprehensive plan for filling in all of these gaps within the system, and whether or not that's asphalt, whether that's ADA, or again looking at those signs. So there will be more to come on that, and probably sooner rather than later. I know.
Brian, my preference on that would be that we have uniformity, because we have some intersections literally side by side, Rucker and Lake. One has a sign, one does not.
Yeah.
There's a lot of intersections like that we looked at, we noted, did leave that with Dale. I know there was some issue or question about whether or not we need to have so many signs versus the fatigue factor of they just become something that nobody notices anymore, as opposed to going ahead and having the safety signs there, particularly for the younger children. So I think that's something we should take up and discuss, and then ask Dale to move forward one way or the other with more signs, or signs at specific intersections. That kind of.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Uniformity is a good thing, but also context sensitive uniformity. So like you said, don't put a stop sign everywhere at every single intersection, because that might have that fatigue effect where people start disregarding it. But putting in the stop sign where they're needed and making sure that you have it on all approaches if needed, I totally agree with you on that. So hopefully that's something that we can tackle here soon as we're getting back on track with stuff. All right. Is there other safety issues that have come up, some things that we should be addressing?
Hey, Brian and Brian Friel, I've got Henry going to log in, and can we, he's going to interrupt his homework. Can we jump to his fix-it station so he can give me an update?
Perfect timing, Dan, because that's next on the agenda. So I have no problem with that.
Let's wait for him. I just sent him the link, and I saw that, and I thought, him and I have been talking about it, so I thought it'd be great to get him involved with our meeting tonight. So
Yeah.
Brian
So
Freeman,
while
when he logs in, we can jump to the fix-it station, okay?
No problem.
Cool.
So while we're waiting for them, I guess, first of all, is there other safety issues under the bike paths or other things that we should be looking into? Hearing none.
The only thing I would have is that we continuously pursue that safety class that you have down in education. That, if you want to put that up in the safety.
Yeah, it's putting it under education encouragement.
That works too.
Yeah. So as far as other enhancements, I know, we will talk about the fix-it stations once Henry gets online, but just let folks know that we do have a doggy pot, which is, I don't know where that specific word came from, but that was donated, I believe, by Tails a while back, and so that is over at the Macomb Commons. And so if there's other places that we need to put some of those in, or if someone recognizes that, hey, we're out of bags, I know we do have some bags somewhere where we should be able to refill those. So that's one of the things that, again, we should keep an eye on for. And if there is other enhancements that people either are suggesting or want to help sponsor, we can talk about that at a future date. In the past, residents have come to us and say, hey, I want to put a bench at this location on the path, and I want to put a memorial for it, or in honor of different people. Also, we've had a water fountain that was installed. So there's other different things that we can do. I think in the future, wayfinding signage or a map at like certain trailhead locations would be beneficial. But there's nothing that's in the works at this moment as far as enhancements. But I will say that as we continue to work with the Downriver Link Greenways, Mary Bowling and Anita Twardesky, they do have some wayfinding signage and things that they would like to do as part of the whole downriver area. So we might have some future enhancements from that standpoint. All right. So since we're still waiting for Henry, we'll move on to new path updates. So one item that we've been looking at is a connection between our Grow Road bike path and the Gibraltar Bay International Wildlife Refuge. And so we've been exploring a road that's on airport property that could be enhanced in order to become a bike path. So CE Rains did run those numbers for us. I'd like to see if there's any sort of engineering value engineering that can take place. But basically what they're calling for is some limestone enhancement, some grading of the base, installation of a new 10-foot fence, as well as removal of certain sections of the old 10-foot fence. And just for record, this road is within the airport property, so there's currently a fence on the east side of the road. In order to utilize this road as a bike path, we would need to install a fence on the western side of the road, so that way we still protect the airport in those regards to trespassers going in that area. But we'd also cut certain sections of that eastern fence out, so that way one reason it doesn't feel like tunnel vision going through there. So there'd be removal of the fence in certain areas, so that way people can get in and out of the path, as well as allow for police vehicles and other maintenance vehicles to get into the area. But long story short, they're looking at base price of $300,000 or a little bit more. By the time you add in the engineering fees and such, and a 10% contingency, they're talking $400,000. So again, since we do not have a bike path capital millage right now, with that, the price of that, I can't see us moving forward on that anytime soon. So I'm hoping that we can figure out ways to do this a little more cheaper. Questions?
Brian, I'd be curious if John Hennessy has any ideas about that.
Yeah, I did. I haven't really looked at the cost estimate. I'm sure it's, you know, so I was trying to be conservative because it seems a little higher than I would expect for that effort from what's already there. But I think it gets back to the point, you know, even if they are 10% high or 15% high, it's still outside of our wheelhouse with the funds that we have through there. And I think it just exemplifies the point that when we come back up for a new millage, I think we have to explain this and so that we can have bigger coffers to do some of these improvements. You know, I think I think it's a great idea, and it's a perfect location for it. It's just a little expensive for us right now, I think.
Yeah.
Even if they are 10% high with the cost estimate, you know, which I'm sure they're trying to be conservative. They don't want to be caught underestimating it.
Yeah. My hope is that, you know, we Carl and I, as well as you know, folks from CE Rains and John Kime and other folks from the Open Space Commission, we did some field work where we checked out both this this road, as well as some of the open space for improvements. And so, you know, we went out there, and you know, it looks like it's in pretty good shape. Like you could take a decent, you know, wider tire bicycle on it already. So my hope is that we can engage in some discussions and say, can we do this piecemeal, where we do certain improvements to begin with to allow for, you know, primitive connectivity, and then later on we can look at, you know, cost to make it more you know, usable or, you know, enhanced. So I just highlighted here, you know, the cost to remove certain sections of fence, the new fence, and the you know, the swing gates that would be needed to allow maintenance vehicles to get in and out, and you know, to use that property in case it's necessary at certain times of the evening. And you know, we're looking at, you know, less than $150,000 right there versus, you know, 320. So I'm kind of hoping that we can look at, you know, different ways to again say, you know, what is a want versus what is needed in order to get this connectivity.
You know, I would almost bring a contractor out there, like bring Al's out there to take a look at it and see what they think. Because when you look at the cost estimate, it's almost as if they're putting a path through a green area, not really on an existing base that's present through there. And maybe Carl and you should meet with Rains and Al's and get an idea of what they think.
So I'm sorry, John, I didn't hear part of what you said.
Okay.
Could you repeat the maybe the beginning part of what you're saying right after, you know, as Al's asphalt?
Yeah, I think the cost estimate was developed in a conservative manner, but it seems like it's almost like they're putting a path through a green area and not on this existing road that's present through there. I think, for example, their grading number, this seems kind of high to me because of what it would really take to trim that through there. And this is an unusual situation where you've got an existing road that you're kind of going on. And I wonder if we brought Al's asphalt over there,
Yeah,
and see what they thought of it and get their perspective as well. You know, I'd have Rains with you and John and, you know, and Carl or whoever, you know.
no, thanks. I appreciate the input on that. And I will, if I have not sent this out to you, I will send it out to everyone.
Yeah, send that to me. Thank you. And I'll take a look at, you know, what we're seeing too for our numbers.
Sounds good.
John, I'm just looking at the 3,220 lineal feet, and the construction estimate subtotal is about $100 a foot. I find that shocking.
It seems quite high. We did 3,200 feet in Woodhaven. We just replaced that actually. And Al's is the contractor there, and it's somewhat similar to this because you're on an existing kind of base in a sense. We removed the existing path and put a brand new path, and we removed an 8-foot path, stoned it, put a 10-foot path in, and we were 3,000 feet at 156,000 for that.
Yeah.
And so
And that's asphalt?
yep. That's in the Civic Park Center right off of I-75.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see Al's is just finishing up. Al's did that project as well.
Why the difference?
Yeah. And what we're talking here is limestone. So you'd think that'd be considerably cheaper, especially given that there's already a base there.
That's why I don't understand that. You know, I think we could put an asphalt path on it pretty easily, actually. That base, from what I've seen of it, you know, and I used to jog in that area and ride in that area, and I saw, you know, it's a very solid base through there. There's not a lot of pumping to it. It doesn't seem to be any wet spots. It drains itself well. I know that because I've seen it.
Carl, didn't we see a wet spot by that gate when we were over there?
There was some puddling, but I did not see it as something that would be a very large project to address and remediate.
Exactly.
And to keep in mind, in the spring, you know, we had very high water. I mean, we've had high water the entire time, but, you know, especially in the early spring. And, you
Well, that's when we
know, when
looked at
you're
it.
talking
was
about more of a
in the spring.
primitive trail, it's like, yeah. So it's like, you know, we went out in, what, maybe July, Carl? Does that seem about right?
Mhm.
And, I mean, it was dry as a bone, you know, even though we still had high water at that point.
I would like the idea of that John has about bringing in maybe a second look at this or a third look. I'm concerned that we may have missed something, and I don't know if that needs to go to the level of an RFQ, but I think we should certainly be able to get a ballpark on this. I'm not convinced that we need to do a lot of engineering. I respect Sahil's work. I just think on this particular project, I have more questions tonight than I did when we walked it back in July.
Mm-hmm.
So if John has some ideas on that, I would welcome the opportunity to walk and work with him and anybody else on the commission that's interested.
Yeah, I would bring Al's out there, and you know, I always find it very good to bring contractors who build it and get their opinion on it, because sometimes people can overthink things when they're used to it, and this is, I think, pretty well set up. And you know, it's all within Al's wheelhouse, whether it's just grading or changing. It's all within the work that's right in their core skill set. So and they would walk it for free, you know, and I'll be out there if you like, you know, it's not a issue for me, but they just get their opinion. And I think
I like the idea.
Brian, without stepping on your toes, John, would you want to arrange something that we could do that?
Oh, I could, or it might be better from Brian to John. Is that right, John Keim? Brian, just so we.
Well, you've got our emails. Why don't you try and set it up and you CC me
Okay.
and John Kime on it. That way you say like, hey, you're setting it up on our behalf.
Yeah. I'll copy everyone on that then.
Thanks, John. That's a great idea, Carl.
Yeah, we'll get that out tomorrow.
I appreciate that because what I'm trying to do with this is bring the price down low enough that we could do this from like a crowdsourcing funding standpoint, where we let residents or people that are interested in giving a little bit of funding that, hey, maybe we'll be able to build this without any actual tax dollars at work. So that's my goal. I don't know if that's possible, but I think the lower that number is, the more realistic that we could at least get a large portion of it done through philanthropy.
Well, the biggest ticket item on there appears to be the fence at about $112,000, if I recall that correctly. I don't know that we're going to be able to do anything to reduce that. And I believe the conversation I had with Mike Duker was that you have to have that 10-foot FAA approved fence because it is a working airport. So if we look at the cost of just the fencing, $112,700, that's a large portion, 20% anyway, a little bit less than the entire project. And I think we don't need to go with a Cadillac or a Lincoln for the Ford fans out there. We do need to have some. We need a fence.
Shinola from a bike standpoint.
Or Shinola, yes.
I just talked to Henry. He's online, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to let you know.
Sounds good.
Henry, can you give us a little update on where you're at with the Fix-It station?
Yeah, right now I'm just like on the funding stage. I've talked to I can't remember the group off the top of my head.
The Rotary group is the one.
Yeah,
that
yeah, Rotary. And like they've just been asking some questions. I've been just getting information. It's been like a day talk, and then exchanging and they keep asking questions, and then it's basically just like maintenance costs and stuff, but just on funding basically.
What they want to know, group, is long term. Sure, that they might help us with the putting in the Fix-It station, but who's going to maintain it? How is it going to maintain? Any updates of current future funds for equipment in 2-3 years that might need to be replacing? That's what they're looking at, right, Henry?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And they probably are going to have Henry come and do a presentation with the Rotary once they start meeting as a group. And any of us that are interested, I will definitely be there because I'm supporting Henry on this. And as we have more information, we'll get into it. But right now they're looking at the size of the concrete. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you have to offer? Tell us about what you've been doing.
Right now, I've just been trying to get a hold of different people. I've got most of the money cost down. I just have to value my options for just the money, and then I have to get the funding because I already have the bike repair station. So I just need the funding for the
Fix-It station.
Yeah, Fix-It station, the cement contractors, because it's gonna be a lot of concrete apparently, a lot more than expected.
Well, hey, Brian, do you remember the one we saw over at Gibraltar Bay, or the downriver dedication that we went to a couple years ago?
Yeah.
He just had it sitting on a piece of concrete. He didn't have it bolted down or nothing like that. Well, this one has to be. And I've got some pictures of the one at Hines Park that I took, maybe 6-7 months ago. And theirs is a pretty thick piece of concrete too.
Mm-hmm.
And what we want to do is we want to make sure that the tools can't be stripped from the Fix-It station.
So it can't be stripped from the Fix-It station?
Yeah, so somebody can't come up there and say, oh, this is a nice pump, I'm taking it with me. We want to be sure of that. Henry, anything else you have to offer?
Not really at the moment.
So
now, who have you been talking to at the Rotary?
Hold on. Is there a way to close the tab a little on this?
Yeah, you can mute it, or you can stop the video also down on the bottom on the left-hand side.
Hey, hold on. Oh, I got it. What was her name?
Was it Joyce?
Oh, Joyce Reed. Yeah, it was Joyce Reed.
Reedy, she's the one I hooked you up with.
Yeah, that's who I've been talking to.
Okay. Well, as soon as you have more information, I want you to get back with me and we'll hook you up to come back and talk to the committee.
Okay.
We also met with Dale back in the spring before everything was shut down, everybody. And I guess the fire chief now and the current police chief are on board with having one out in front. So we're moving, but we're moving slowly. But we need to wrap this up so Henry can get his Eagle Scout by the end of the year. Right, Henry?
Yeah.
Well, Henry, we truly appreciate your help on this. Glad to see that you're utilizing your Eagle Scout project to help out the bike paths. And if you need help with anything as far as some pointers of who to talk to or different vendors, let us know. I think one of the things like Dan was saying about researching about the security or what happens if someone does take off with something. It's like, well, what are the replacement costs for those tools, and do you factor that into the the costs of the maintenance aspects, or have you looked at different vendors to see like which ones require that thicker concrete versus which ones maybe you don't need it, or some of them might have tools that are more easily obtainable at your local hardware store instead of having to order them special from that company. So if you've already got it, done that research and you know what you're looking at and you're confident, that's great. But if if you need some other help and you're looking at a few other names, just let us know.
Okay, that sounds great.
Henry, did you ever get a hold of Al Petrie Jr.?
I don't think so, because I don't really know who that
Because
is.
that was one of the ones I said to contact to get an alternative price. Having a purchasing background, I thought it'd be wise to, shop the different avenues to see what we can get for our best buck.
Yeah.
And, you can go online, and I know you're online all the time, but take a peek at that, okay?
Yeah.
All right, Henry, thanks for your input, and go back and do your homework.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Okay, Brian, sorry to interrupt.
No, that was fine. I appreciate the time and glad to hear that update from Henry. So we were still on a New Path updates. We pretty much finished talking about the Gibraltar Bay connector. So next up on there is the Bellevue connector. So Carl and I have been looking a little bit more into this. Last time, I believe we were speaking about utilizing the Downriver Link Greenways grant that they received from the Ralph Wilson Foundation to do more engineering on the Bellevue aspect of connecting our Meridian path to the Free Bridge. And so again, that route that we were potentially looking at would be going from Meridian, have a crossing of Meridian at Bellevue, and use the Bellevue corridor to get to the Golf and Country Club, to the Water's Edge and Smokies on the Water restaurants, and basically our community center. And 3, utilize a sidewalk connection along West River Road to go up to the existing sidewalk that's already on the West River connector, to utilize the existing sidewalk that connects up to the Free Bridge. So based on that, I did talk to the Downriver Link Greenways, and they wanted to have a conversation with the township's elected officials. And so Carl helped me put that together. And so we had a meeting that it was an invitation to everyone, both the existing township board as well as the I should say tentative or future township board that should take office in November. And so it was the new township board members that were primarily the ones that got on our call, but we talked. Mary filled them in on where she was coming from. Mary for the Downriver Link Greenways, as well as Carl and I talked about the efforts from the BPAC side, and we got general consensus from the board that it would be fruitful to continue looking into options on Bellevue Road as opposed to them considering it a what's the word here? Just that it was absolutely off the table. So based on that, we did talk to Golf and Country Club to let them know that we were considering this, and I believe they said that as long as we stay within the road right of way, they have no concerns from that. And so I was able to reach and send out another email to Mary Bowling to let her know that there is consensus from Groseal's officials to proceed with investigation of the Bellevue Road corridor. Carl, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Didn't hear you, Carl.
No, I'm good with that. I thought it was a very productive conversation with Groseal Golf, and it would have been great if we could set the path away from the road a little bit, but we have 66 feet to work with, and that should give us plenty of space.
Mm-hmm. So as of right now, I still need to touch base with Mary to find out what the exact next steps are. But again, pretty much everything is on the table as far as the different options. We haven't said, hey, we're going specifically with the bike path, or that we're specifically going on the south side or the north side. And we haven't said specifically that it's going to be only bike lanes, or that it's, we're not going to do anything except for some crossings of the road. I think right now what we're doing is looking at all the alternatives and showing what they cost from an engineering standpoint, as well as which ones are preferable. And then from that, once we can narrow it down, they can move on with the actual engineering drawings for this, which would be helpful from a funding standpoint. So that way we can shop around for different grants.
Now, Brian,
So any other, go ahead.
Is the Ralph Wilson open to something like this big of a project?
I think that they would be. I can't speak specifically for them, but Ralph Wilson Foundation is interested in trails. They are leading. Well, they are a primary backer of the Southeast Michigan Trails Advisory Team, which is looking at different types of gaps and different resources that are needed in order to connect together regional trails. And so those types of gaps could be a funding gap. It could be a planning perspective gap. It could be a coordination issue. They're trying to identify what the gaps are with all of the regional systems. And since this is part of the Iron Belt Trail, I would think that they would be interested in this, especially since they're already funded this engineering aspect of it. So I couldn't see. I believe Mary also said that she couldn't see why they wouldn't be.
Well, I'm thinking in the future that
in,
this could also open us
construction.
up to the opportunity to become a trail town, because it would be a destination where people could come to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that's our long-term plan, that would be a gap that could be filled.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons to do this. I think the other reason is, hey, we have residents that want to be able to get to the country club, that they want to be able to get to Water's Edge, that they want to be able to cross the bridge and go to Elizabeth Park, or get over to the International Wildlife Refuge with the Humbug unit, or get over to the Lake Erie Metro Park. So there's a lot of local value to it besides the trail town aspect, which I don't want to diminish, but I also want to make sure it's emphasized that this isn't just about other people coming and spending their dollars here in our town, which is a good thing to help reinvigorate the business district. It's also about the locals who will use it probably just as much as those visitors that are coming in.
Absolutely.
All right. Other questions, comments?
Nope.
Hearing none, we'll move on into education and encouragement campaigns. First of which is Walk and Bike to School Day. So Rebecca, you have the floor, and I will pull up whatever flyer that you'd like me to.
Thank you. So,
Hey, you're live.
sorry?
Good to see you. Couldn't see you earlier.
Yeah, no, we were dealing with all sorts of connection things. The walk to school, bike to school usually is on a Wednesday, but with all the virtual and everything going on with students, we're going to make it a week. That also helps not have any crowding issues. And since half the students in the middle school and high school aren't in school on Wednesday. So this was the thought, come up with an activity, not even label the days. People can choose what they want to do and when they want to do it. You can always go to school. Virtual students can go to school to see the playground or to see the libraries, or on Fridays, every other Friday, we have to go pick up materials anyway. Scavenger hunt, walk, go to one of the little free libraries on the island, play bike safety bingo, or take a sound walk. So each one of those has another flyer for them. My question for this also was just what kind of logo or central theme do we want for all of this? Are we doing walk and roll? Walk and roll was specifically a safety campaign, right?
For the lights. That's what we
Right.
use for the lights.
But it's not really a bike to school. It is partly a bike to school, but we don't have a logo for bike to school. I guess we could use the safety
national
to
one.
school logo. So that was one thing I was unsure of. Is logo themes for all of this, and then just any other comments or suggestions you had. The bike safety bingo, if you could pull that one up, Brian.
Yep. Second.
That was taken from partly from Canada and partly from some other things I just looked up. And so things like checking your helmet could have a lot more detail to them. But I also figure parents who need to learn more about that might get more out of just doing a Google search themselves. So I didn't give any more information than just these are things that are good to do safety wise for your bicycle. So we do have the bell and the front light and the rear light in there, but Dan, you just said we don't have any bike lights to give out.
No, I gave the rest of the bike lights to Brian to pass out at the election, the last primary. I have plenty of bracelets. I can look in the bottom of the bracelets, but I'm pretty sure they're all bracelets.
Okay.
And I'm going to drop all that off with you this weekend. I'm headed to Chicago in the morning, and I'll be back late tomorrow. And I might be able to bring that stuff over to you on Friday. I'm not sure what my schedule is because I was in Grand Rapids today, and I didn't get back till late. So
I had Mr. Whitehouse was happy to take bike lights. I didn't talk to him about bracelets. I'm of the opinion that middle schoolers might not take bracelets if they were handed to them. Christine, do you have the same thought there? Have you seen the bracelets? Do you think middle schoolers would actually use those?
I've seen them too. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I've seen them too, and I think, maybe they are at that age where they're might be a little too cool for that.
That was my thought. And I know we've handed them out to all the elementary school students as part of bus safety.
But nobody's busing, as you
But
told
nobody's
me.
busing now. So I don't know for sure
they
how
still
that.
have to walk from mom and dad's car to the school, so you still might want to pass them out to the.
To the elementary students again?
Yeah.
Okay.
The batteries can be replaced. I looked at one, and there's a couple screws underneath that you might be able to get one of those small batteries, so it's not like they're going to die. I'd like to get rid of them because, like I said, when I tested 6 of them earlier, a few of them didn't work.
Yep.
So we don't want to pass them out if the batteries are dead.
I can talk to the elementary school principals and see if they'd be willing to hand them out. Do you have an estimate of how many we have left?
I think there's 3 or 4 boxes, and usually there's so some of the boxes have 300, some of them have 500. Let me get back with you Friday. Tomorrow, like I said, I'm leaving very early, so I'm not going to go out there tonight and check.
Okay,
Is that okay with you, Friday?
Yep. Friday's great.
Okay. And I've got some literature on bike safety and all that. I've got the signs from Jane, so I'll bring all that stuff over to you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not planning on doing any signage or anything like that for this. Again, this is next week. So
you gotta get this stuff. I still want you to have it because there's no sense me holding on to the signage and all that.
right. Okay, so there's the bike safety bingo things
bingo.
there. Brian or anybody else, any other suggestions to add, or that looks good?
Are they going to do any training on the helmets, helmet use, and all that for those that are riding to school?
The middle school mentioned that they used to, well, when they had the advisory meeting, they were willing to have us or somebody go in and do presentations in those. But now with COVID, no one is allowed in the school building. There is no more advisory time.
Okay.
And so that's all going to be on hold.
Okay, just checking because I would think that'd be important that they have the right helmet and it's fitted properly with the pads inside.
Yep.
So, I mean, if we want to do something like that, what about,
Doing it outside.
what about paint the town red? That's coming up. That's, or the Halloween.
Yeah.
But there is some like events happening. Is there somewhere that we'd want to get the word out about proper fitting helmet or other communication aspects?
Or even the walkers. I mean, tonight coming home, there's people on the paths without lights. I mean,
this really is the biggest time of the year as far as lighting concerns.
yes, exactly.
I don't know what the plan is for the Halloween trick-or-treating thing, but there have been posts up that they are planning on doing something. I wonder if we could just give out our bracelets there.
Exactly. I mean, there's, like Brian just said, this is the time of year where it starts getting darker earlier, and I would really like to utilize getting these bracelets out. And again, I apologize, I wasn't here last year.
Well, let's see how many that we have. If there's enough for this, we could do the schools and do Halloween.
I bet there's at least 1,500. Because we had over 3,000 bracelets. Hey, Brian Friel, are you still on?
Of course I am. Where am I going to go?
Hey, how did it go passing out those lights at the primary? We got rid of everything?
Every single one of them went out.
Okay.
And the lights went out first before anything, and then the bracelets went after that. They were really into the lights.
Oh, the lights are wonderful.
Yeah.
So is there a consensus that if we did this again at some point in the future that we'd want to try and grab, do more bike lights as opposed to the bracelets?
I would. And, when I put it together, you and I talked about, thinking that more people would want bracelets than lights. But the lights were more expensive than the bracelets. That's why we got less of them. I think we'd do funding. If I put another funding in, I would ask for more lights than bracelets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Well, they also, they are more expensive, but you can always use the bike light as a walking light.
Yes, you can.
Bracelet as a bike light as easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can. In fact, what was it? I don't know, 2, 3 weeks ago, I found mine, and there was a guy, I was taking out the trash on Monday. There was a guy riding his bike at 10 o'clock at night with no light in Hawthorne. And I said, hey, hold on. And I gave him mine. Who knows?
In regards to the police commission and the police department, do you know if they've been passing out any of the lights? I know that I believe we dropped some of.
I dropped the box off with them before I went back out of town last summer. I mean, that was a whole box, so there had to be like 300 to 500 in a box.
I do not know if they have been passing those out. I do know there's 1,700, approximately 1,700 students in the district. So when we look at lights, we look at the bracelets, that's the number, that the high end that you're going to be looking at in terms of passing out. We did have a program several times where Ken Pellin was passing out Slurpee certificates when people were doing something right, and he just wanted to compliment them, particularly kids on bicycles, and said, hey, here's a certificate of a Slurpee. You mean I'm not getting a ticket? No, you're getting a certificate for a Slurpee. So,
Well, is there any way you could check to see if there's any of those bike lights left? Because
I
if
can
there
do that,
is, I gave them a box of, I believe I gave them a box of lights and a box of bracelets. And if they have any of them left, I'll pick them up and get them to Rebecca.
I don't need the bracelets, I don't think. But
No, you don't need any more bracelets. You're going to have tons of bracelets. But I really want the bike lights.
yeah.
Mhm.
There were a lot more middle schooler bikes at the bike rack with the whole no buses and virtual schooling and all of that stuff. It seems, or hybrid model, it seems like more students are biking now, which is awesome. The bike racks are now moved to the end of that pathway that connects the middle school and the high school. So they don't have to bike through the parking lot anymore.
Hey,
Yeah.
Brian, is there any funding available for me to go in and apply for another grant for bike lights? Now that the kids are riding their bikes to school, like Rebecca just said?
There is not a SEMCOG grant at this time for that, but we should be on the lookout for different grants to see what we can do. The other thing I was going to ask Carl is, from a police commission standpoint, if maybe just revisiting the subject with them to see if that's something that they're still interested in, and
I'd
there
apply for
funding
it, Carl, if you want me to.
I think that would be good. Dan, the person that has been in charge of a lot of those programs, has a lot of institutional knowledge, is Lieutenant Pelland.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to speak with Ken. I would encourage you to do that. He could probably tell you exactly where the box of the bracelets and
How do you spell his last name?
P is in Paul, Elland.
Okay. I will
If
give
you
him a
call
call on Friday.
If you call 676-7102, you'll have the dispatch desk, and they can tell you if Ken is in tomorrow or Friday, but he would certainly know where where the material is. And we do not have plans for an open house, but I think those are the things that are most easily distributable. You just simply pass those out to all of the kids. But again, 1,700 and that goes from just starting school to just graduating. So,
yeah,
I think it's a great idea because I didn't see anybody today because I left early, but if they're riding their bikes, like Rebecca said, not every parent is home to drive them to school. So this is a safety issue for the residents' children on the island.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah. So two things I wanted to mention. One was based on very similar to what Dan was talking about, where he saw someone in his neighborhood riding without a light, and he gave him a light. That was what I was hoping that would be happening with the police. Maybe it's happening. We just haven't heard about it. But that's the hope is, especially at this time of year, is like, hey, if we have police officers that are out there. They might see kids or adults, riding at, 8, this time at night, or 7 o'clock, or whatever is, twilight around here, or even later, is like that would be like the perfect time to give someone, the light and say, hey,
Be safe.
here's a correct, first of all, letting you know, kind of warning you that, hey, you really should be having this, and 2, here's something to get you home and to get you by until you can, buy your own for that that might last a little longer. And so, again, I recognize 1,700 bike lights, to give to the every kid in the school. That might be a little tall order. The bike lights are expensive, but if we could do some triage where it's like, hey, giving it to people who need it at the most and use it more of as an education piece, I think that could go a long way. And
I think so. I mean, that's when I put
maybe
the
it's just
funding
a couple
thing
$100
in
a
it,
year or something.
that's what I said. It was an education piece. And I would like to do it again. I mean, if we used all the bike lights up, we should have probably gone with, and we thought we'd have more walkers and joggers than bikers, and that's not the case.
Well, Dan, to be honest, I believe the issue was that, like you said before, the bike lights were so expensive, and our goal was to get something to
Everybody.
every kid, on the island. And so that's why we went with the bracelets and a limited number of bike lights. But given that what we've seen is, hey, we ordered way too many bike lights, too many bracelets, and not enough bike lights, maybe just recalibrate that for the future, or only focus in on the lights if we feel that people aren't really using the bracelets too much.
No. But I think at Paint the Town and the Halloween parade, if they still have it, we need to have somebody out there passing out bracelets and stuff like that. Get them out there. And Rebecca's going to contact the elementary school to see if they'll pass them out, right?
Yes, I will do that.
Rebecca, I also have a telephone number I would encourage you to consider, and that is the office of Linda Drizga. She's the financial manager for the township schools.
Okay.
Linda's office number is 734-362-2555. Again, 362-2555. She may have some ideas about distribution that'll make your life a lot easier. I worked with her extensively when we did the COVID-19 testing for the schools, for the staff, the students, and some of the parents that were interested. Linda is marvelous to work with, and I believe that's a resource that you should consider reaching out to. She's very, very good, and she may have some great ideas.
All right, thank you.
So another aspect of education and encourage campaigns is the bicycle safety class. So as I mentioned before, this is something that we've been looking to do in partnership with the League of Michigan Bicyclists. So I was able to talk to them recently, and they said, yeah, if we can give them a better idea of what we want to do, when we want to do it, they will reach out to their LCIs or league certified instructors to see who's interested and available to be a part of our potential course. And so I know that there's a few residents that are interested in doing this. This would be something that we'd probably partner with the recreation department as well. So Kim has been very gracious in regards to getting the word out for us in the past, putting it in the Channels magazine, as well as letting us do online registration. So I think what we just need to do is pick a date, figure out what we want to do as far as these classes. From my perspective, I think that we should have a couple different tiers. And the one I think is probably the most important is the one that we tried to do last time in regards to centering in on 5th graders and 6th graders, those children that already know the basics of bicycling, but they're starting to venture off on their own. They're going to middle school. They're going to Macomb Street District. They might be going to Water's Edge or other places where they'll be going on their own and not with their parents. And what do you do when you come to an intersection? Or what do you do if your final destination is not on the path itself? How do you cycle differently when you're on a sidewalk versus on the bike path? How do you cycle differently if you're on a road because there is no sidewalk or there is no bike path? Those types of things I think would be helpful because one, the kids are already doing this, and two, that they're probably still at the age that they'll listen to someone in regards to some of these more safety related materials as part of an interactive like field trip based class. If we get into the high schoolers, again, they might be a little too cool for this stuff. The younger, we're going to be teaching them more about the basics of cycling. So we can offer it to others, but I really want to hammer in on those folks that are probably around like fifth and sixth graders.
I agree. When they were recoding Meridian a couple weeks ago, there was a young kid that pulled off to the side of the road, didn't know what to do. The bike path was closed. He pulled out his cell phone, and I bet he was calling one of his parents to come and get him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's bike safety right there. I mean, is he going to ride the shoulder? Don't know.
Yeah, it really depends on where that person's trying to get to.
But
It's
I think it's a very important class for us to hold if we can ever get it together to hold it. I really do.
Great. So we'll work on that and hopefully get some dates here pretty soon, at least ideas, and hopefully get some more, get it fleshed out, hopefully by December or January for next spring.
Cool. Hey, Brian, can I add one thing? I'd like
Other thing with education encouragement.
No. It's something I should have added in the beginning to talk about the Open Space Greenways Committee at the end before you get into action items.
Well, I'm still talking about education and encouragement.
I just wanted to add something later.
Oh, okay. So I want to mention that SEMCOG is doing another quick blitz with some updated information in regards to walk, bike, drive safe. So I have been coordinating with Brian Friel on that, and so Brian's been able to put up some of the videos on GITV. I believe he said that they're playing before and after the each of the commission meetings or the township board meetings. So hopefully we're getting some play from that standpoint, as well as there's updated one-page documents that we might be able to put out onto social media. So I will share those with folks if they'd like to pass spread out the word as well.
Cool.
All right, now Dan, you're talking about the Open Space Committee.
Yep, I just wanted to tell everybody that if anybody's watching, that we had the Dump Your Junk on the 12th of September. We had a great turnout. There was no treasure hunting. It was all just dumping. We had 416 vehicles that came through the gate. 4 of them came through right at the end. If Carl, you missed that. It was those 2 guys in those 2 trucks just kept piling them in. And he said, I still have 15 seconds before 4 o'clock. It was amazing. And the people were just, we filled all the dumpsters and everything. And I just want to say that the residents really appreciated our work. And thank you to all the volunteers. Kroger provided the sodas, the water, the ice. Hungry Howie donated 4 large pizzas. We had them for the morning people and we had them for the afternoon people. So I just wanted to mention them also. That's it.
Thanks, Dan. So is there any other items people want to discuss before we move into liaison report and chair's report. Is there any events that we need to mention that we should be publicizing?
I think we should just promote the Paint the Town, support our business district. Anybody else?
All right, hearing none. Carl, you got the floor for the liaisons report. And you're muted, Carl.
I have nothing to report from the township board perspective, and look forward to having something next month.
All right, thank you, sir. I will pretty much verbatim do with what you said. So I don't have anything to report as far as the chair's report. I think I covered enough in regards to other reports there. So I just hope that everybody gets out there, enjoys the little bit of good weather that we still have. I think next week we're going to have some warmer weather. So hopefully enjoy the daylight and get out there, walk, bike, and drive safe.
Thanks for putting it together at a late date, Brian.
You talking to me or him?
Him! I call you Brian Friel.
I do have one question or one thought, and that is putting that bike and walk to school out on the Grozeel social media. Brian Friel, do you see any problems with that?
Oh, no, not at all. That's absolutely, that's one of our commission. I mean, it's like something a commission is doing. Absolutely.
Brian Friel, thank you for doing everything you do for us.
Absolutely.
No problem.
By the way, Brian's agreed to help us out with communications in general. So again, thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I'll get out whatever you need.
Nice dollhouse you got back there, Brian.
I'll play with afterwards. We're remodeling, and so yeah, a lot of stuff got into the office over here that generally shouldn't be.
No, I think that pink house goes well with you with your beard. Sorry. Everybody have a good weekend. Enjoy. Be safe. And Carl, I owe you a zinger. I'll come up with a good one. You love harassing me.
Well, call us. Get a motion for adjournment here at 8:58 p.m.
Sounds good. Have
All right.
fun, everybody.
Have a good night.
Have a good one.